Hello everyone, welcome to our first exercise. Being that this is the first exercise, I imagine we're probably going to run into a kink or two here and there. And also, we'll be downloading and installing a lot of software today. And with that, I imagine that we'll probably want to do a lot of fast forwarding. So it might get a little whiplashy, and I apologize for that. Computer science, the golden arena of endless well-paying jobs, needs problem solvers from all backgrounds, but appears surrounded by a thick wall of incomprehensible ones and zeros, self-righteous nerd minions, and endless differential equation nightmares. This video textbook attempts to create an entrance through that wall by teaching programming basics in the language of real people. This video is a real-life coding example in 3 different languages. To view this week's lecture on programming methods, click here. And to watch this week's lecture on computer science beyond just normal programming, click here. The way we're planning to work these exercises is that we're going to work through a coding exercise with me and my wife, and by that I mean that she'll sit down and I'll sit down next to her and I'll try to coach her through a little programming problem. And we'll do that in C++. C++ is one of the most well-established languages out there, but people are kind of going away from it. It's also one of the best languages to learn. And the reason for both of those is that it's kind of a hard language. There's a lot of things that you have to, a lot of I's that you got to dot and a lot of T's that you got to cross. There's a lot of little things that you got to do to make sure that your program runs. And because of that, I think people are moving away from C++, but it's also because of that you get to learn a lot of things that you don't learn in other languages. You get to see more of the behind the scenes. And so I really recommend that if you are taking this course all the way through, that you start out with C++, and you can watch the JavaScript and the Kotlin things, and I think that would be really good for you. But maybe just focusing on C++ would be my advice for a beginning programmer. Now, if this is someone who wants just a little bit of exposure, JavaScript is also a great programming language to start with. It's a little more limited in what you can do than C++, although I think that there might be more JavaScript jobs out on the market today than there are C++ jobs. And there's a reason for that too, because I think JavaScript's one of those languages that can run on just about any machine, and it runs on the web. It is the biggest programming language for writing web applications. And because of that, and because of the widespread use of the internet nowadays, there's a lot of need for JavaScript developers out there. So if you just want a more casual experience, you don't want to learn all the deep, hard stuff of C++, you can just do this JavaScript stuff. And that doesn't require any downloading of software or anything like that. So that might be a lighter experience for someone who just wants to get their feet wet. Kotlin is going to be a little bit more involved, not because it's a harder language. It's actually an easier, more simple language than C++, and going to be a large, I think, resume item someday soon. But I've never done anything in it, and so I'm not as confident in my abilities. I'm going to be teaching myself along with you, so there will probably be lots of stumbling. You'll watch me get tons of bugs, I'm sure, and do things wrong. But because there aren't very many people out there teaching Kotlin, I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to get a few more people out in the community interested in Kotlin. So I'm going to teach myself and hopefully teach you at least how to get started with Kotlin. Today, we're going to set up our computers. So we're not going to do a whole lot of coding. We're just going to set up our computers with the programs that you run, that you start writing programs in. Those programs were going to be Visual Studios for C++. We will do an online sandbox for JavaScript, so you won't even have to download anything. And then we're going to do IntelliJ for Kotlin. So let's go ahead and kick over to there. Hello, we are going to actually start getting ready to code today. And I am here with my wife.
Hello.
And we are going to start talking about how do you even start coding? Where do you start coding?
These are things we have yet to find out.
So if you were going to write a paper, you would probably go to something like Google Docs, right? Or like Word. You probably wouldn't pull up Notepad, but you could do it on Notepad.
You do.
I do write on Notepad quite a bit.
I think that's because you're a A programmer.
Probably. And you could totally pull up Notepad and start coding from there if you want. But there's a lot of other tools out there that make it a lot easier. And we call those IDEs, and it stands for Integrated Development Environment. And you probably don't ever need to know that. I think a lot of people don't even know that that's what it stands for. But we're going to download one of those that works really good for C++, which is the language that you'll be coding in most of the time.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so go to the internet, and probably have to, yeah, there we go. And search up Visual Studios. Visual Studios is made by Microsoft, and it is crazy powerful. It's really confusing, actually, because there's a lot of different tools in it. It's kind of like running AutoCAD for code.
So which one of these do we want?
We're going to go with probably the community one. You can get the other ones if you're going to do professional development, but if you're just a student, community is probably the best. It's free.
Okay. I always like free.
I like free.
Thank you, Microsoft, for having something for free.
For once.
Awesome. Just to our desktop, I'm guessing.
Yep. Did that just automatically start up? You didn't have to like click on anything?
Yeah, it automatically started up
Nice.
when I got to this page. So I click here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, set up a few things. Do it.
This is basically just like setting up any other program. It's going to install some things in the background. So it will install the actual application, the IDE that we're going to use, but it'll also install a bunch of like things to interpret code and to understand the language. And then if you don't have Windows already on your computer, Windows kind of comes with a lot of the language packages that you would need.
Okay.
And if you didn't have all that on your computer, it would also download that.
Oh.
It's going to search through your computer and see what kind
See
of
what you
language
need.
stuff you need. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Almost done.
It's an almost done dance.
Ah, it's almost there.
I feel like it's been almost there for a lot. So you can do lots of different languages on Visual Studios. We're going to do C++, and I think the best option is that one right there, the desktop development.
Sounds good. Install while downloading?
Yes. So you can see all those things on the side, the check boxes and the
yeah, these
unchecked
up
boxes. Yes, yeah. All the checked ones are the ones that we need installed on here. And it just figured that stuff out. So you can see it's about 6.5 gigabytes. So it's going to take a little while. So we'll probably stop the recording and then come back when it gets done. Hello, welcome back. I hope you had fast enough internet speed that didn't take too long. Ours took at least long enough for my wife to need to go to a family event, so I'm back solo. And what happened was it finished downloading and installing, and then it made me restart. And so I had to restart, and now I'm going to see if it's just completely done here. I'm going to scroll down to the V's, and there it is, Visual Studio. We'll open that up. And you could sign in with your Microsoft account, and that would work just fine. And I've done that in the past, and I probably will do that soon. But just to make it easy, I'm just going to go with this. My wife has told me that she likes the lighter aesthetic, so you just choose an interface that looks pretty and one that you'll feel more comfortable with. I like the dark ones because it's just easier on my eyes, but she wanted the light one because dark's kind of a drab color. You'll pretty much open to this screen just about all the time. You can open a project from here, or we could just go create a new one. And all of these are just different ways of setting up Google. It's kind of like a template if you were to like do a template in Word or Office or something like that. Just setting up your program for you. We're going to do mostly console apps, so you'll probably just click on this one most of the time. So next. And then you want to name it something that you will remember when you come back to it, because we're going to get a lot of files, and Visual Studios creates a lot of extra files behind the scenes for you. So you'll want to name it something that you'll understand. So let's just try first programming file. Okay, sure. If you want to change the location, you could. I like keeping it in the source just because that's where Visual Studios is going to look for it every single time. Okay, first programming files. What it's doing is it's creating a project, and that project's going to have folders in it, and it's going to have different files in it, and it's going to create a specific file called a CPP file, and that's what the file that you're going to code in. So CPP is what all your code goes into when you're coding in C++. Okay, and here we go. So when you do this, it has inserted the name of our project right here. And this is all this that you see that's just set off by 2 slashes. Those are actually, we'll talk more about them later, but they're called comments. And it's not actual computer code. When the machine runs this code and it sees those 2 slashes, it says, "Oh, I'm not going to worry about that. That's a little note that they left for themselves." So all of this right here. Hello, welcome. The dog just walked in the room. All of this right here are just comments about your program. And then this right here is the actual program. And what this does, we'll explain a whole lot more about it. But this is just a tiny little program that they wrote. They're including this little hashtag include says go find some code that Microsoft made and copy it in. And so they're copying in some code that will allow us to do some things. And then here, line is saying this is the beginning of our program. And this line is saying print to the screen, hello world. Everything inside that. We're going to learn all about this. You don't need to worry too much about this at the moment. But let's just run it. Let's see. You know, I have not been in Visual Studios for a long time. There we go. We're going to start without debugging. So what it's going to do is it's going to put all of our files together and convert it from the written language that we understand, at least the written language that is easier for programmers to understand, and then convert it into language, the ones and zeros that your computer needs to understand. There we go. So that it'll build it first, and you'll see the results of that down in this output window. Build started, first program CPP. That's the file we're writing in. And then it will convert it all into the things, and it will say, hey, build 1 succeeded. There was no failures, everything is up to date, and nothing was skipped. Okay, then it pops up. This is called the console. We'll use the console a lot. And this is where our program runs. And it just printed to the screen, hello world. So that worked. And that is Visual Studios. This is a very complex software with lots of different options. And we're going to help you find the ones that you need. And we won't cover everything in here. In fact, I don't know everything inside of here. There's so many new and cool features inside here that you could spend ages talking about, I'm sure. My encouragement is just don't get overwhelmed with it. We'll talk in great detail about a lot of the things that we need, and all the other stuff will just fade in the background. Okay, let's go take a look at some IDEs that we need for JavaScript and for Kotlin. C++ is a really powerful language, and it's kind of thought of as more of a standalone language. I believe they do a lot of like Xbox games and stuff like that with C++. But JavaScript is entirely different. It works on the web, and web development usually uses a lot of languages all together. It's very, it's almost a very collaborative language. One that I really like when I'm actually doing web development, I really like using Visual Studio's code. It's a lot like Visual Studios, but it's more simple and streamlined. The problem is it's hard to kind of run that code instantly like we want to do. And since we're really not using other languages, we're just going to use JavaScript in this section. I'm going to show you another IDE that's way easier to use. I'm going to just type in play code. It's this one right here, playcode.io. Right there, and it's an online editor. Now this, it's going to let you do all sorts of other codes here. It's including the jQuery library. That's a little too complex for us, so we're just going to get rid of that and not worry about it. The CSS awesome fonts. We don't really want to deal with CSS in this course, so we're just going to deal with the straight JavaScript, and that's in this one file right here, script.javascript. JavaScript files are .js extensions. Okay, now over here, there's an intro. We don't need that. This preview will show it just like it is on a web page, but since we're not using any web pages here, what we really want is the console. The console will show us all sorts of things. We're not going to do any coding here, but since it's already set up, actually, let me do a little coding. I'm just going to show you. Just about anything you put in this console.log will show up over here. And we're going to do most of our programming. We're going to use this console.log thing. I'm going to just say, hi, everyone. And there's the results of our program running right over there. Alrighty. That is JavaScript. Now let's go on to Kotlin. Okay, well, I have not done a whole lot in C++ for a while, and I've done plenty in JavaScript recently, but I've never done anything in Kotlin, so I'm going to be learning Kotlin as I go. And from what I've heard, I believe you can... You know what? Never mind. We're going to go to IntelliJ. So INTELLIJ. Go to their download page. And hit download. While it's downloading, let me tell you a little bit about why we're here. Okay, you just have to wait for a second, then it will start. Okay, we're here at the JetBrains website because JetBrains make IntelliJ, and they've done that for years now. IntelliJ is one of the best IDEs out there. It will write most of the code for you. And it was originally intended for Java and Java type things. And it's really, really good for that. But JetBrains are also the people who created Kotlin. And so this is the people who created the language. This is their program for writing programs in. So I'm excited for it because I've always loved IntelliJ. I haven't been able to use it as much as I've wanted to, but I've always thought it was probably the best IDE out in the market. And now I get to use it with Kotlin, and I'm assuming that Kotlin's going to be one of the greatest languages to ever hit the market too. So this will be good. So it's downloaded. I'm going to click and open it. It might be on your desktop like that or wherever you saved it. Let's open it up. And I know because it's originally configured for Java, it's going to ask us a lot of Java type questions. And I am not a Java developer, so there might be one or two things that I'm not as familiar with. Let's see. So I don't really want a desktop icon. I think you do need to update your path variable. And that's something you can do on your own, but it's a lot easier if you just have them do it. Update context menu, add open folder as projects. I think that's just an organization thing. You can probably leave that or not. I think we do want create associations with Java and Groovy. Okay, I wonder if that's Kotlin. I'm just going to select all three of those and hope it turns out well. JBR. Okay. Yep. I think those are the configurations I want on this computer. Your answers may vary. I think that this is probably going to keep on just installing like the other one. So let me go ahead and pause the video and come back to you when this is done installing, okay? As always, it finished installing and made me restart my computer. So let's get in here and scroll down and see if we see IntelliJ anywhere. JetBrains, that's what we're looking for. I'm just waiting for it. It might take a little bit just starting up the first time. Okay, finally loaded. We have got this dialog box. I'm going to just say OK, don't import. I'm going to agree. I don't particularly need to send them statistics. You can do that if you want, but okay, I'm going to go ahead and do dark because it's just me here. I don't think we need any of these plugins. I don't think we need any of these plugins either. Okay, so now here we are. Do create a new project. Okay, we're on this screen now, and this is where I'm not entirely sure what to do. If you can see up here where it says Project SDK, I'm not sure if we need that. I think we do. If you don't have the Java development kit already installed on your computer, and some might have it on already installed and some might not. I already had it installed. What you're going to do is you're going to click, there will be like a little link thing down here, a little blue link that says something to the effect of get the JDK or something like that, download JDK. Click on that and it will be like installing a whole nother program. I can't actually show you how to do that right now, but it will take you to a website. You just install it, download it. It really isn't too complicated to do. And then you'll go over here and you'll click new and just hit OK again, and it should pop up just like mine is right here. I've clicked that a couple times. I would say click that. Now that's kind of if you're starting a Java project. I think if we're doing a Kotlin project though, we're going to go over here. And the fun thing about Kotlin is it can run in several different ways. And this might be just a little more advanced than I want to talk about. But you can do Kotlin for mobile phones. If you're doing a mobile phone project, you could do one that would be like on a server. And that might be just a little bit more information than you need. What we want to do is Kotlin on a virtual machine. In fact, we're going to do the JavaScript virtual machine. So, or not the JavaScript, I'm sorry, the Java virtual machine. So the JVM. And we're going to click next. So just that first option, go to next. Let's call it our first, and I'm not entirely sure I'm doing this right. Kotlin file, but I believe this is what you'd want to do. Okay, and we'll hit finish. Yes, I would like to override that. It's saying that because I tried this doing it another way, and it didn't look good, and so I'm saving over my previous attempt. Okay, so I am not going to actually do any coding at this point because I really don't know any Kotlin code. I'm not quite sure how simple I could make it. But I can show you a couple things around here. So this is just like Visual Studios, but a little bit simpler of an interface. But don't get too comfortable yet because there's a lot in this IDE. Okay, so here is our project, and our files are in here. Okay, it looks like these KTSs. I'm assuming those are probably the ones we're going to do our coding in. A lot of extra files that you probably won't ever even need to touch, but the computer needs those to be able to run the Kotlin code. Okay, then we are, if you want to, usually over here there is a play button, and if you have code that you could just, show up in a console somewhere, that's where you'd click it. And then we'll do a lot of coding down here. I'm going to assume you can just double click on that, and that will bring up, yeah, that's where we'd do our coding. Okay, great. I think this is the correct way. If I did it wrong, I will fix it and upload a new video. Thank you.